Chat with the mayor. Text the mayor.
Comment below with the mayor.
Comment about the mayor or against the mayor. Give me some criticism. I can take it.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Mayor, and everyone from around the world.
I do have to report in full disclosure that I am operating under a disability this evening. I have a paper cut. Those are wicked, aren't they? Those little paper cuts.
You did find a Band-Aid.
I did. You helped. You called for it. And it was administered by Dr. Maria.
Dr.
So
Maria.
I had like a real nurse practitioner, PhD in hospital management, all kinds of experience treating people to my simple little, aren't I lucky?
So,
all right.
Mayor, we have
lots of stuff
to cover tonight. Can we go right into a question a lot of people are asking today? Would that be all right? Regarding
No, it won't be all right. But I'll since I have so much affection for you, Ted, I am going to accede to your request without even knowing. Now, let's tell everyone. You didn't even tell me what we're going to do, right?
I did not.
You just did this. You want to get
the mayor of
You
this.
want to get a spontaneous response. Go ahead. Go.
Well, we
go
talked,
for it.
Okay.
Go
Well,
for
this is on a serious note, and we talked about it briefly earlier today.
Okay. Well, that's good. At least we have a little practice.
The former CEO of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, has been arrested by authorities in the Bahamas. He is expected to be extradited to the U.S. That could take some time. Some people are wondering, though. He was set to testify today before a House committee, Congress. Him being arrested yesterday, he no longer was, he was then removed from speaking today at the hearing. People are wondering, why would the U.S. authorities charge him yesterday and not today, and let him speak before Congress?
Excellent question. That's the one we didn't bring up of the various possibilities. When you asked me that, I gave you all the reasons why that could be good and bad, right? Because a lot of people interpret it as something particularly nefarious. They didn't testify today. But I mean, normally, the minute you get charged for a crime, which means that's about as formal a way to say you're the target of the investigation. Well, you are. Not even a target any longer. You're the defendant. You take the fifth. You don't testify. Either you don't even have to formally take the Fifth Amendment. You just inform the prosecutor. Yeah, you put me in the grand jury. You question me. I'm going to take the Fifth Amendment. So you're wasting your time. You're wasting my time. And most prosecutors figure the minute they charge you, they're not getting to talk to you anymore, unless you're making a deal. So you're absolutely correct. If the Justice Department were interested in helping Congress get the testimony, they would have waited a couple of days to indict him so that they didn't add to his calculation the calculation that I'm a defendant, therefore I should keep my mouth shut. Would that have affected him? I mean, he's got a lawyer. He's a smart guy. He's got a smart lawyer. I don't think there was much of a surprise that they charged him. So I guess what I'm saying is, even without being charged as his lawyer, and I think I'm now saying what 95% of the lawyers would say, I would consider him immediately a target, and I would have informed him to take the Fifth Amendment. In fact, I could think of very few circumstances under which I'd allow him to testify, unless this were truly a misunderstanding, which it isn't, and he could clear it up. So let's take that one off the table. So his not testifying, I mean, I never thought he would testify. Why they did it this way, I mean, there are people that think they don't want him to testify. They don't want him to publicly give a version of what happened, because if you start questioning him, you're going to find out that you could make the argument he cheated all these people that range from rich to very poor to people that are broken now, in order to support the Democrat Party. I mean, he gave the vast majority of the money, hundreds of millions, to the Democrat Party. He's the number two to Soros, or number 3, I've forgotten the guy who's in the middle, donor to last year's Democrat Party. Among the other horrible things he's done to us, he helped bring us Joe Biden with the amount of money that he gave Joe Biden.
That's right.
So it's an interesting group of speculations as to, number one, why did they schedule him for testimony? Did his lawyer ever really tell them he would testify? Seems absurd to me that they would. However, what is not absurd is the conclusion not to testify. From a lawyer's point of view, I'm talking to you now from the point of view of me as a representative of the public and what would be in the public interest and the public good, which would have been to testify.
So there's a chance, if you were the prosecutor here, there's a chance you would have, and you caught when he's planning on testifying before a House committee on Tuesday. It's Monday night.
I might have cut him off.
So that's interesting.
I might have cut him off.
How does that serve the public?
I want to be the first one to question him. Although I'll tell you, in this particular case, and that's a knee-jerk instinctual reaction of most prosecutors. And the reason I was very successful as a prosecutor is that I was not a knee-jerk prosecutor. I didn't follow all the rules. In fact, my general theory of rules, which is not in my book on leadership, it is already in the draft that I have my second book of leadership. That is, the rules are there to be manipulated and broken. You follow the rules when it's the normal case that fits the rules. You vary the rules when it isn't. And one thing that poor investigators do is they follow the rules, and therefore they solve the cases that were meant to be solved, but not the ones that weren't. So here, since it's not a cooperating situation, and he'll be giving us some degree of facts, I would have welcomed his testimony as a prosecutor. A lot of prosecutors would disagree with that. You get a lot of people that would call it and say Giuliani's a dope. You never let him. You don't do that. But I've gotten people who were stupid enough to give their first version of it, because their first version of it usually turns out to be a lie. In the case of a guy like
Bankman-Fried.
Yeah. Bankman-Fried. Bank your money freed.
He gets your money for free.
Bank your money. I would say, and this is look, how can I be insulting you more than you've insulted yourself? The odds are that Bankman-Fried, if he's testified today or yesterday, would have perjured himself. It
would have been under oath. And
very few defendants ever give the honest, correct story right out of the box. Usually you get about 5 versions before you get to the truth.
So, of course, we're talking about Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of the cryptocurrency exchange FTX. According to prosecutors, his lies stretched back from the very beginning. When he founded FTX in 2019, Bankman-Fried engaged in widespread fraud, the federal authorities charged on Tuesday, and used his customers' deposits to finance his political activities. This is very specific by prosecutors.
Let's be a little more honest about it, huh? He used it to basically subsidize Joe Biden and the Democrat Party in 2020. He gave them $100 million or more. That's a lot of money to give to a political party. He was the third largest person to donate. He did not himself donate to the Republican Party, but one of his partners, who is a Republican, did give a much smaller portion to the Republican Party, like 20% of that, 10% of that, which, is still a lot of money when you consider we're talking 100 million, right? 10 million. That's nobody ever gave me $10 million for my political campaigns. I did raise $57 million for my campaign for president, but nobody gave me the $57 million. I raised it from thousands and thousands of people.
I was going to say, you didn't need that kind of money. You know who needs all that money for campaigns, Mayor? Lousy candidates.
You know who does? Candidates who are being, in many cases, being shook down by their by their advisors and advisors and advisors,
Consultants,
who advise advisors to do events at places that charge 5 times more, and they kick it back to the advisors who advise the advisors.
Don't forget about all the vendors that got to get paid.
Pretend they can get President Trump's endorsement, just in case you think we're talking about somebody we know.
Thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live, on a very, very busy news evening.
Don't like crooks, never did.
So the FTX co-founder, Sam Bankman-Fried, he's now also accused of making illegal campaign contributions, of course, in the tens of hundreds of millions, Mayor.
As far as I know, the contributions that were to these unlimited PACs and things were legal. I don't know that he made illegal contribution. Did he?
He's being charged with illegal campaign contributions.
Okay, well, when you make
which is probably the least of his concerns.
Let's say that when you make that many contributions and there are so many rules, you're probably going to do one wrong. I mean, without even
sure. I mean, campaigns are often.
I can't imagine a guy that was that open about making that many contributions would deliberately go ahead and do an illegal one. But who knows? People are crazy.
Well, it'll be interesting to see talking to a campaign finance, someone that really knows the ins and outs of this. Apparently, he had disguised a lot of this money to make it appear it was coming from other wealthy donors.
Well, that's interesting. Usually, people want credit for this, right? I mean, the people who donate the 100 millions and stuff, they like to bang their chest, don't they? And say, I'm the big donor. I'm the Soros sure does. He doesn't.
Mayor, he spent $70 million on campaigns in 2022. That's just the money, the public money. They're saying hundreds of millions in private dark money.
Is that where the illegal, the dark money? Dark money, I think, generally connotes illegal money. So
he apparently spent a lot more than that in dark. This is from NBC News. A lot more than $70 million in dark money that is being described as money that was used to engender goodwill with candidates on, NBC says, both sides of the aisle, but really heavily favoring the Democrat Party. I mean, we saw this guy on the cover of all these magazines. Well,
I mean,
we saw him make the rounds on.
A lot of the politicians have been very suspiciously quiet about a case on which they could make a lot of hay, haven't they? I mean, there's nothing. It's nothing like the prior. Nothing like I remember with Boesky and
Bernie
Milton
Madoff.
and Bernie Madoff.
Even Bernie Madoff.
That wasn't my case, but I mean, I certainly.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, let's go to your case.
But in fact, one of my partners represented Madoff's partner, his number one partner, who was a key witness. So I do know the case better than most because I went through it with Mark quite a bit.
I mean, we have people in our comment section saying, I lost $40,000. I lost this much. And, to a lot of people, $40,000 is a lot of money.
One interesting little factoid. Lauren Boebert wins re-election by 546 votes to this Adam Frisch guy. And we saw Lauren on Saturday night at the Republican dinner. She looked good. She sounded good. And a lot has been made by the liberals that they kind of won this election because it was so close. First of all, I would like to remind them that the seat is a Republican seat, so therefore you didn't win the election. It's like the one that apparently we lost by one vote on the recount. You know that. We just lost an election by one vote. Imagine your best friend who forgot to vote that day.
Where is this?
Is it either New York or Connecticut?
Wow, one vote. Can you imagine?
We'll check it out before
right now.
One miserable, teeny little vote, and that was on the recount. So I don't know if they'll recount again, but you'd almost want to recount.
You got to recount again.
You know how easily you could mess up. I mean, honestly, mess up one vote. I was somewhat suspicious because, of course, on the recount, who won, the Republican or the Democrat? Just take a guess, Ted. Who won on the recount, the Republican or the Democrat?
Oh, gee, I'm just going to take a shot in the dark and say, I don't know, Democrat?
You think it's illegal for Republicans to win on recounts? I know it's illegal. I know this for sure.
Yeah.
Every state.
It's unseemly.
It's illegal for dead people to vote for Republicans. It's against the law. In fact, if they should vote for Republican, it automatically switches to Democrat. We've never done a good job of.
We have not courted the dead vote.
We haven't. We're doing considerably better now with the Hispanic vote.
Yes.
We made actually a nice improvement with the black vote in the last election. We made an improvement of a women's vote.
Asian vote.
Asian vote,
We've had.
I shouldn't have even missed that. That's probably the biggest.
Yeah.
We still haven't moved the needle one single bit on the dead vote.
Oh, man, the Democrat Party has had
Democrats
that.
in
They've had that
Philadelphia and
at
Chicago.
least since 1960.
Yeah, they
right?
empty out the cemeteries on election day. They emptied them out. They
We'll
got
have to-
people.
Maybe that's what we need, better shovels.
They got people. Be careful, Ted. They got people. They've got people that we don't even know. We don't even know where their graves are anymore to vote.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't even have their proper graves.
So are these? Yeah. Are
These are people.
do they
who,
have their ID?
these are people who died so long ago. The grave disappeared.
Thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live.
But I like that, Lauren Bobbitt. You may go after all you want. I think the woman speaks her mind, tells the truth, sees it the way she sees it. And sometimes I disagree with her. And sometimes I think she gets herself in trouble because she's a little bit too outspoken. But I prefer that to the sneaky liars and suck-ups that we have all throughout politics, like the Democrats who won't speak out against AOC and they love Israel, unless somebody who could hurt them politically says something terrible about Israel, then they keep their mouths shut about Israel. I don't like people like that. As human beings, I don't think they're solid human beings. Ms. Bobbert seems to me to be a solid human being.
Kind of along those themes, Mayor, what would you say to those out there and being Republican at times and being conservative today? It doesn't even just apply to Trump supporters, but obviously they're the ones that are really feeling it. But even conservatism at large, right? People that they're sick and tired of being I don't want to say ostracized, but they're sick and tired of how they're treated by certain members of their family, friends, colleagues, people that are easily influenced by the media. And so they're almost at a point where they're like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I can't speak about my political views anywhere because I feel like I will be publicly shamed by people who are easily influenced by the media. What would you say to people who are they're fed up with it and they're not sure if they can keep up the fight?
First of all, I surely empathize with you. There are times in which over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, you might imagine I felt that way. I felt like it is a little too much. How am I going to handle it? Is it fair? You do get is it fair for my family and friends? The friends part became easier because I lost so many of them. I didn't have to worry about them too much, which is quite, to me, maybe the biggest loss of all, because I considered friendship sacred. Today, I've always thought, I do kind of tend to psychoanalyze myself and others, but probably totally inaccurately because I'm hardly a trained psychiatrist. But I did think that friends were more important because I was an only child. And I never had a brother or a sister. I tend to make friends closer. So they're avoiding me as much as they could, finding every excuse to not be available if I needed them to help on something regarding the 30 cases against me. They would.
Mayor, if I may.
And now recently, as I went through this hearing, which is going to resume a bit tomorrow, I asked several to be character witnesses who told me they couldn't because their law firms wouldn't let them. I wonder if anybody is interested in taking a look at this, despite what side you're on. If you're on the Trump side, the Biden side, the non-stolen election side, the stolen election side, there really is a concerted effort to deprive Donald Trump and his side of it of the right to a legal defense and as a right to a defense. And that's the reason for the persecution of his lawyers, so that, and it works. I can personally testify as the supervisor of several of the legal efforts for President Trump that people had to leave and people were dissuaded from joining by specific threats made to them that they would lose their place in their law firm, similarly lose some kind of a job, even if it wasn't legal, lose clients for sure, lose family, and then physical violence. All of that has been involved in the representation of a president of the United States who, let's face it, so far has been acquitted in every situation. So the Russian collusion turns out to be now, based on the hard drive, conclusively untrue, false, and it's worse than that. It's a frame up. It's not a mistaken story attributed to him. It's a made up story paid for by Hillary Clinton. It's as if a novel were written and it was imposed on him,
Yes.
and he was made. So there can be nothing worse than that. To accuse somebody of a crime by mistake is one thing. To go ahead and spend $1.1 million to create the atmosphere so the person is going to be considered a criminal is despicable. It's absolutely despicable. And that fact that I told you was well known by most of, if not all of the leadership of the Democrat Party, because it was shared even before the 2020 election. So they're all guilty of that. All the phonies that are going to do their December 20 thing, they're going to put out the January 6th report. Please, when you look at them, keep thinking Russian collusion, Russian collusion, Russian collusion, and how they lied. They're all represented very, very ably by Shifty Schiff, who said, I've got evidence of direct involvement of Donald Trump in Russian collusion. Okay, let's take a look at it now. Adam, let's take a look at your evidence. Oh, here's page one. Here's page one. You know what it really should say? Damn liar. Expulsion. This guy should be thrown out of Congress. Instead, they put him on this committee, and people are supposed to take this committee seriously. How about the chairman? How about the sanctimonious chairman of the committee who sues me and Donald Trump Jr. and a bunch of other people for, substantial involvement in causing the January 6th riots? That's a hell of a thing to accuse me of, isn't it? Now, I know you don't know this unless you listen to this show, but I may have it right here with me. I do carry it around to stick it in the face of liberals who don't know it. You do know, of course, that was a big headline when I was charged, right? Now, not as big as it normally would be, because I was charged, and I was very proud of it. I was charged along with at that point, just very, very newly former president of the United States, my client and friend, Donald J. Trump. And I was charged along with Donald Trump Jr., Dan Scavino, a few others. And the charge was, here was the a caption of the case here. I have a copy of the whole opinion, but it was 122 pages, and we're trying to save paper. That's not to cause what? Not to, as part of our duty, not to cause whatever paper causes. Not to get Al Gore. We don't make Al Gore any fatter. So I was charged with being involved in the riot. I knew I wasn't involved in the riot, just like I knew I wasn't guilty of any crimes when the Southern District Justice reported me, just as I know I had support for the allegations I made in the lawsuits for which the bar associations are trying to persecute me and deprive me of my right to make a living based on doing nothing very different than most lawyers do. But in any event, you get used to that. What did happen, which I would say is a break from the depressing fact situation here, is we made a motion to dismiss after a short period of time. Normally, motions to dismiss are just, waved aside. You have to virtually be no evidence of any kind. And you would think, bringing a lawsuit against me and Donald Trump Jr., they'd have something at least to keep it going. I fully expected I would get out on, later on in the case, but only after they did what they really intend to do, which is not so much find me liable as to get me bankrupt, which they're, I wouldn't say they're getting there, but they've depleted millions of dollars, both in defending myself and lost clients. I'm suspended from the practice of law I did have 6 or 7 other clients other than Donald Trump, and they were paying me what I think would be considered by most people a rather large amount of money to represent them. I am a pretty well-known lawyer. I do very few cases, so if I represent you, it's probably a case that involves a great deal of at stake, often money. And since I only take a few cases, I'll take cases to pay substantial amounts of money. I also take some cases for free, not just Donald Trump's case. In any event, the judge wrote an opinion a few months ago. It is 122 pages. And this thing where the committee wants to issue a criminal referral of my activities on January 6th, they've uncovered nothing that wasn't presented to the judge. The judge here, although he kept some people in the case, begins his discussion of me somewhere around page, I don't remember the name of the number of the page. I think it's 74. The court reaches a different conclusion as to Giuliani. What they basically say is, what plaintiffs must plausibly establish is that Giuliani conspired to prevent Congress from its duties on January 6th by force, intimidation, or threat. There they fall short. Now they go on to explain why. And they say that they haven't brought forth any facts that moves the claim against Giuliani across the line from conceivable to plausible. And they basically say that the words trial by combat was not accomplished by a direction to do anything. They were not likely to move the crowd to act and didn't. There's no allegation that any single person took Giuliani's words as permission to enter the Capitol. There's no allegation that Giuliani at any time before January 6th uttered words advocating or inspiring violence, which for my reputation is quite a restorative in comparison to the damage that they did. The court holds that Giuliani's remarks are constitutionally protected free speech, something that the January 6th committee has no regard for. Nor is Giuliani alleged to be involved in any rally planning or have known that the president would direct the crowd to march to the Capitol. And he did not express solidarity with the rally goers after some violently assaulted police and forced their way into the Capitol. Giuliani's words at the rally are not sufficiently additive to make him a 1585-1 co-conspirator in the wrongdoing they allege happened during the rally. Now, this case was brought by Thompson, who's the same chairman who is considering and may very well refer me for criminal prosecution. In other words, he couldn't prove it civilly, so now he wants to see if he can get the Biden Justice Department to come to an unfair decision, or at least a decision that would disagree with an Obama judge who viewed it with a lot more independence than the Biden Justice Department has demonstrated in its short existence that it has. So tell me that these people are guided by anything other than pure, unadulterated politics. And I think Kevin McCarthy should not only disband them, he should charge the Democratic National Committee for all the money they cost us with their phony proceeding. Let me show you how they took my words out of context. I should actually put this together with blocks so I can take them out, because this is a pure and simple, great explanation of taking out of context when I say, let's have trial by combat, because the sentence immediately before it refers to testing the machines one against the other, the voting machines. And the section after it talks about what the president, what will happen for the president if he wins, and what will happen to the defendants or the other people if they lose. The trial by combat, two machines. I'll just read you the introduction. Over the next 10 years, we get to see the machines that are crooked. Oh, I'm sorry. Over the next 10 days, we get to see the machines that are crooked, the ballots that are fraudulent. And if we're wrong, we will be made fools of. But if we're right, a lot of them will go to jail. Let's have trial by combat. I'm willing to stake my reputation. The president is willing to stake his reputation on the fact that we're going to find criminality there. So it was quite clear, if you reported it honestly, as no one did, that the context in which I was talking about trial by combat was between two machines. That's why the case was dismissed. Real question is, why are they leaking and rumoring around that on a case that's been dismissed as a civil case at a very early stage with a very low burden, they now want to besmirch my name even more by recommending me for criminal prosecution to a Justice Department that has evinced the fact that it cannot be fair, and in a district in which the chances of convicting a person such as me is 99%. Is this justice? Is this fairness? Is this America? It isn't, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. And I am just one of many of its victims, many much more poorly treated, including the ones that are still sitting in the DC jail for a break-in at best that occurred 18 months ago, 19 months ago. Maybe here at Christmas time we'll let them free, huh?
That is awful, and that's something that's not covered enough. So thank you, Mayor, for bringing those individuals up. Please comment below your name and where you're tuning in from. We'll want to share a few of those this evening. The fastest hour on the internet, America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor.
It's already 8:33. Come on, where am I going here? Come on.
So text. Let us know your comments, questions, quibbles, complaints. Anything you may have to say, whether you're agreeing or disagreeing with the mayor. In fact, he may
got a sinker.
He may prefer some challenges. So let us know below. Questions, comments, complaints.
You get your machine, I'll get my machine.
And we'll
machine.
So, Mayor, we are getting some questions here. Lynn Wood, did you know Lynn Wood? Or do you know Lynn Wood?
I did, and I do know Lynn Wood.
Yeah. Okay, so he, I believe, is attorney.
I wanted to know. Did I know him?
I guess that was the question.
I did know him. Yes.
Brandon says hello from Tennessee. Sally from Boulder City, Nevada. Amelia in Maine. Idaho Garden Girls in Southwest Idaho. So a good name. Michael in Ohio. Gary in Tampa. Hello. Brandon in Knoxville, Tennessee. Hollis is in McKinney, Texas. Denise is in the Detroit area. So thanks for joining us. Keep letting us know where you're tuning in from, but more importantly, ask us questions. So here we go. Some questions coming in. Here we go. Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Mayor, have you been to Ohio? Have you ever been to have you ever been to the state of Ohio, Mayor?
Many times.
Is there a state what is the state out of all? Here's a better question. Which of the 50 states? First of all, I'm going to go ahead and guess you've been to all 50.
Yes. A few, barely.
Which are the ones that you've barely been to?
Alaska once.
Okay, so Alaska.
Hawaii once.
Okay.
Now,
the contiguous 48.
Let's see, are there any? Oh, I had someone took my map. Where's my map?
Oh, you had a full map?
No.
I'll look for that. But
in cleaning it up, someone cleaned up my map that I keep there because I have a map. One side is the world, and the other side is the best part of the world, the United States of America. And stop this.
Okay. You have this one.
Oh, we could use this one. This one is not the one I had in mind, but this one is fun because we can write on it, right?
Yes.
We can write some markers. Let me get a red marker because every state should be red. All right. Yeah, I've been to every state. I was just taking a look quickly at these, some of these. It was a while. It took a while for me to get to Montana and Wyoming.
If you can
Wyoming.
Show us the board as you're looking at it, so
here.
we can show our viewers.
So it's actually on both sides, so we can see it right there. I've been everywhere, ma'am.
I've been everywhere.
I've been everywhere, man.
Why don't we put it to the side so we can see you? There you are. There we go.
So
Here's the map.
a couple of onesies.
Let's get your opinions on some of these states.
Montana twice, Idaho at least once, Wyoming a couple of times, North and South Dakota a couple of times, Nebraska a couple of times, Kansas fair amount of times, a lot. Wouldn't say a lot, but a fair amount. Colorado, pretty close to a lot. Utah, Nevada, pretty close to a lot. And I didn't go to Nevada just for Las Vegas. Arizona, Tucson, Phoenix, Maricopa now, and northern. I've seen all of Arizona. Spent some vacation time there. Ditto, New Mexico. Many times in Texas, which is one of my favorite states. Used to like going to Texas, when political heat gets heavy in New York, because then I could find people who agreed with me.
Spent a lot of time in Houston.
California, absolutely.
What's your favorite part of California? Not the politics, but the area.
The Central Valley, that's all Republican. So therefore, it is the politics.
Okay.
The greatest agricultural state we have, that's heavily R.
People are commenting they love when the mayor uses charts and maps. They love when you pull out a map or a chart. Yeah.
But look now, you see this map should be out here. Hawaii should be here, and Alaska should be here.
Yes, very, very far and much larger.
They got it down here. No, I think they have it in proportion, but to these, or rough proportion.
I believe Alaska is almost the size of half of the country, Mayor.
Oh, okay. So then they had Alaska, then they had to squeeze it in, I guess. Yeah, and it's bigger than Texas, that's for sure. Yeah, I use this a lot to build. Like I illustrated my.
And Hawaii is likely small.
My immigration reform proposal of 50 substations along the border, particularly here, of course. But they also don't point out is water, land. Here's the Baja Peninsula. They don't point that out. Mexico comes down here, and in between is water.
People are commenting how you're reminding them of Ross Perot right now.
The theory of
the map.
The theory that I had, that I've propounded and wanted to see, starting in the Bush administration, but Obama or even Trump, but they've never done it, is a series of border stations spaced roughly 50 miles apart along the border, heavy emphasis in this here part of the border, which is where most of the issues take. I mean, you could say that from the southeast border, this is from here to here is probably, conservatively 80%. Huh? Maybe, and then you're going to get a decent amount here. You don't remember, you don't get anywhere near the numbers here in California, but you still would have you still have border stations along the way. You might space them out a little more here, where you have less illegal immigration than in here, where some of the really ridiculous points of immigration. Now, what would the border stations do? What they would do is they put hundreds of border patrol people, INS people, agents, etc., in a location. And think about it: if it's 50 miles, right? So let's just do this again. Let's just say you start over here, right? You start with your first border station right here. And then you have a border station right here. And let's just say for a moment, that's 50 miles apart.
Yes.
That means that every border station, there's no border station further than 25 miles from the border.
Yes.
Which also means you can take the resources of two border stations and rather easily bring them together at one point on the border. Yes. And then like we do at our firehouses, when we have 3-alarm fires, we go over here and we borrow some from over here to come over here at the same time. You also would put maybe maybe you'd put 4 or 5 headquarters there with extra reinforcements that could come in. The idea would be to, among other things, not just have a fence, which I'm a very big proponent of, as was everybody before Trump proposed it. You would physically overwhelm them and therefore make it impossible for them to come in. I don't mean beat them up. I don't mean shoot them. I just mean prevent them from coming in. If we don't stop what is going on at the border and what is about to start now with the 40% more that come in with the change in the law, we are not going to have forget America. We're not going to have a country. A country has to have a definable border. A country has to have a group of characteristics that define the people who are citizens of that country. The citizens of a country have to select the leaders of the country for it to be a functioning democracy or republic. They can't be decided by a floating group of people who come in just for the purpose of the election, which is what the Democrats are recommending. This is all because their political party is a disgraceful failure, and they can't, by running as a normal political party, they can't possibly announce their platform and expect to get elected. Their platform is express train to communism. So instead, they engage in all kinds of chicanery and divisive tactics, like accusing people of racism for reasons that are very, very, very unjustified, making up false claims against them, like they did against Trump. Hopefully, your intellect, your intelligence, your common sense will cut through that, and this will just be destroyed. I also wanted to point out something that makes me feel a certain sense of vindication, and I have to say, the last couple of weeks, Ted, without doing an "I told you so," which I will not do. It's too important to do that. I have felt that I haven't had such a period of time, such vindication in quite some time. I mean, 5 or 6 major things where I was proven to be right, and the professional crooks, liars, pathological Democratic liars, the members of the slave party were proven to be wrong. And
of course, the party of slavery, the Democrat Party, just to make that abundantly clear.
I'm going to talk to you about that at the end. I'm not going to do this unless we can put together the requisite number of people. But do you think we could put together like a substantial number of people that would demand that the Democrats change the name of their party because of its massive association with slavery? There's no name, no institution more identified with slavery than the Democrat Party, nor is there one that had more to do with the loss of more American lives than any war. McCarthy seeks subpoenas for 5,100 report photos. These are the make-believe intelligence agents who led us to infamy for many, many years before they did this by giving our presidents faulty intelligence, who signed the letter claiming that the Hunter laptop from hell, the Hunter laptop which derived from a Hunter Biden computer, was Russian disinformation or had the earmarks of Russian disinformation. First of all, I looked very, very carefully at everything surrounding it, because I'm the one who got it, right? I got it and gave it to Miranda, along with Bob Costello, by the way. So he and I had the best view of it, raw and unadulterated. Now, I'm very confused, Ted, because all these extremely important people, extremely important Democrats who appeared on Sunday television more often than Maria Bartiromo. I mean, they were on every Sunday when I was hoping that the football shows would start. I'd put it on and I'd see one of these hacks like
these are very important people, Mayor.
Like Brennan, I saw him. I saw Clapper. He's one of the big liars.
Well, they know better than us. These are too complex for people like us to understand, Mayor.
These issues. This is beyond. No, we're not allowed.
Yeah, that's their whole shtick.
We're not.
That's how they. Right? They always tell us this is a complex matter of international. You're in over your head. Don't even bother.
These people were my heroes when they were on Sunday morning television. Now, I didn't watch them because I didn't think I was smart enough to understand them. I switch them off for early football discussions where my intellect is able to handle. I mean, how would I understand something from a genius like
complex issues of national
genius
security
like Brennan? I mean, my goodness. And but it turned out they said that the hard drive that I had was filled with earmarks of Russian disinformation, and that I was like a Russian agent, and so was Bob and Senator Johnson and Senator Grassley. So I did the right thing. I did a very, very close and detailed examination for any kind of earmarks. I could find no earmarks on the hard drive. There wasn't a single ear on it. No ears. I don't know what they were talking about. I mean, there wasn't a single ear on it. I hope some of you have a better sense of humor than Ted, because I don't think Ted got the joke.
I got the joke about the ears, Mayor. I'm reading the chat and trying to find
you're
multitasking, right? Remember, we're very simple people.
Maybe it wasn't that good a joke. Earmarks. Where are the earmarks? No ears.
No ears. No, that was a good joke, Mayor. Yeah, I was in the midst of.
In any event, the truth is this is Democrat BS, because they just use this all the time. It's like debunking and they just say things that are not true. Like they say in very authoritative voices.
Yes, you got to get the voice down.
Because honestly, several of them together don't add up to the IQs of the people that I know and work with. I mean, if you add their IQs together, and I don't think it works when you take two subpar. I think if you take two 90s, it doesn't add up to a 180.
Oh gosh, no. That's a good point. It's that
what it really means is they get dumber because they're both dumb. Yeah, which is what I think happens.
You can get dumber. That's true.
I think that happens with Clapper and Brennan. They also bring out each other's inherent dishonesty. So they just said this was hacks and it was Russian disinformation, and the press didn't ask them to specify a single fact that would support that, or even if they had seen it. Because they probably were afraid, because one of them would have said, oh yeah, we saw it in Hunter's. How about Hunter's lawyer called up the night before and asked to have Hunter's laptop back?
That's right, Mayor.
So they're going to be investigated. Good. A lot of these people get investigated, like Cardinal Comey, and nothing happens to them. Look at this guy. Look at this guy who was sitting there, right in the bird's eye seat when the decision had to be made on Twitter. And if he had been prosecuted, that never would have happened. But our Republicans, including two-faced Barr, didn't have the guts to prosecute him. So, I mean, I don't know when we're going to. It
exposes. Sorry, Mayor, I don't want to cut you off. I want to point out how this just exposes the uniparty. Mayor, to me, it's as simple as this: President Trump came in and he fought he came in on his campaign leading up to 2016 to take on the permanent Washington political establishment made up of Democrats and some Republicans, and they didn't want Trump to win because he was the first candidate in a long time who wasn't coming from kind of that permanent Washington political class, Republican or Democrat, right? Is it as simple as that? To me, it's as simple as that. President Trump represented someone who at least had the capability of upending the status quo. And people can talk about how successful he was able to be in 4 years.
The interesting part of that, Ted.
What do you think of that?
Well, I think that is generally accepted as correct. And I have at times accepted it as correct. And I guess I do to some extent. I do raise some questions about it, though. Why was it immediate? When he walked down the stairs, was it immediately obvious that he was going to be the enemy of the establishment? Immediately?
No.
Or that he was going to be that effectively the...
No.
When did that... But the hatred, at least for some, started to kick in very, very early.
very early. Here's what it was, I think, Mayor. Early on, he was good for ratings. It was kind of a novelty thing. The media loved him. Remember, early on, he'd go on with Morning Joe and Mika. They were chumming it up early on. They all wanted him. They covered him nonstop, wall to wall. They helped elect him in 2016, right? They covered him wall to wall. And then he started to poll. The polls started to show he was doing well.
They started hating him during the election.
No, of course they did.
Mika and Joe didn't, though.
Early on, they had him on because they didn't think he was going to win. They didn't think he was going to win.
They had him on even right after the election. They had him on a little bit. They broke with him around the
after he had been elected.
Yeah, Joe and Mika and Joe, or whatever.
Morning Joe and
Morning Joe, which means Joe who doesn't wake up.
Yeah.
Maybe Joe would be better at night.
I'll be honest. I used to watch Morning Joe. I'm talking early on. I
always thought he was a poor substitute for Imus.
I didn't even know he did that. Right?
No. I mean, he sort of. That used to be the Imus spot for a long time.
What is it, 6 to 9 or something?
Yeah, well, they do the radio show, but they sort of created the hybrid radio call-in interview show on television. And there was a period of time where the Imus interview was the biggest thing you could get in Washington. And it was the number 2 thing for selling your book, at least for one Rudolph W. Giuliani.
Don Imus was the number 1 person.
Number 2. Well, he was number 1 until Oprah came along and started her book club. So she went to number 2. But Imus still maintained a very, very strong position. When I went on, I may have these numbers a little wrong, but the final number I have right. I went on Oprah's show the night before my book came out in Cleveland.
You went on the Oprah Winfrey show. I have to find this tape.
And she did the following for me because I knew her. She did the memorial service at September 11 at Yankee Stadium, in which she named me America's mayor.
Oh, she's the one that coined it?
Yeah, you have. In fact, my show on Fridays begins with that.
That's her saying it?
Yeah,
that is incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it. You heard it here from the mayor himself. Oprah Winfrey coined the term America's mayor. Very interesting. Although I want to say people following 9/11, I don't want to give Oprah that credit.
It was following 9/11. That's when she did it.
But I don't want to give her credit. I think people would have.
She did.
Okay, fair. She did. Okay.
I mean, she came up with the phrase. Nobody else did.
Okay.
That I know of.
Okay.
So when we did her show, she gave me 2 or 3 segments of the show, almost the whole show. And she asked me, she didn't tell me in advance. She said, would I be comfortable teaching it like it was a class? And I said, she had no idea that I always had a secret desire to be a teacher. My mother was a teacher. And I used to study my own lessons when I was a little boy by teaching myself. That's why I like the whiteboards, and I used to write stuff on a blackboard. And so I said, yeah, I'd love to. I hadn't even planned it. I'll take a couple of the lessons So I got up, and they got a group of people, and they put the chairs out, and I stood up, maybe with about 10 chairs, and I taught 1 or 2 of the chapters, and they asked questions from the chapters. Long and short of it is I think I have another interview that night. I go in an interview and I'm introduced as the number 1 book on the Amazon, I guess early release. Yeah. Coming out the next morning. So I debuted as number 1 because of her. And when I was on Imus that morning, I went up another 45% with Imus. So I would say my book is good, honest. It didn't need all that. It's a good book. I think you'd enjoy it if you read it. I go back and read it sometimes for specific lessons. The first chapter is all about September 11, and the last chapter is all about September 11. But the guts of the book are a group of lessons that I learned about how to be a leader over the years, and I attribute the people who taught me the lessons. Yeah, here's the book right here. It was translated into.
You're not a self-promoter, Mayor, but can you please hold it up and hold it a little bit? Just hold it so the audience can see it. I know you don't like doing this, but please, the book's amazing. I'm getting through it. Should be done. Again, it's something you can get through. I haven't because
I handed it to you and signed it.
Yeah, so I do have to finish it. I've been working my way through it. It's an
Well, you
incredible
better
book.
finish it because the test is right before the Christmas break.
Oh my goodness, I still got another week of classes.
Mostly,
ladies and gentlemen, when you're with Mayor Giuliani,
mostly multiple choice, but we'll have 2 essay questions.
Without going into it, I just want folks to know I got a very good lesson in communications and journalism yesterday. I'm not going to get into it, but we
learned. One of the premises of the book is almost everything I learned from somebody, and I can remember who it was. That lesson I taught you, I learned from David Garth and Roger Ailes.
So I learned
both of them together. But they were remarkably similar in terms of the way they handled political elections, the way they organized them, the kind of things they emphasized. They weren't particularly friends, and one was more often a Democrat. I would say Garth handled probably 7 Democrat campaigns for every 3 Republicans, but it was the era where you did both. So Garth elected me, he elected Lindsay, he elected Specter.
Wow. He
elected Dick Thornburg the first time. Oh gosh, and a number of other Republicans. So he was active in both parties. He was a quintessential moderate Republican, moderate Democrat. He would not handle a very left or a very right member of either party.
On another episode, maybe we'll go through what happened yesterday. And Mayor, of course, the mayor is going to soon be releasing some videos on, his book on leadership, and we want to kind of format those as sort of a class as well.
I said, I guess it was on Friday, that this week and next week, this week very, very briefly, and next week, slightly longer concentration on the stories. It's going to give a spiritual reading or thought or story that had us beginning to prepare for the birth of Jesus, because I don't think we should act like this is just one day in the calendar. And, we often, because of the presence and the excitement, we wait for it with great anticipation. It happens, and then we're depressed when Christmas is over. Christmas is never over. We're always preparing for it, or we are reacting to it. So today in the Roman Brevia, which is the book of prayers and hymns and reflections that a Catholic priest must read every day, or if he's in a monastery, chant, begins with, "A voice is heard, crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make straight the path of our God." So this is, of course, a concentration on John the Baptist and on his preparations for the coming of the Savior, and a description of what the Savior will be like: a humble man of no faults, a man who draws men to himself, a man who zealous first of all with yourself. And then you will be more justified in expressing zeal for your neighbor. You are good at excusing and justifying your own deeds, and yet you will not listen to the excuses of others. It would be more just to accuse yourself and to excuse your brother. If you wish others to put up with you, first put up with them.
Wow.
And then a reading from Psalms and a reading from Isaiah and a reading from Genesis. This is all, there's about 15 pages of Psalms, the prophets of the Old Testament and the New Testament, that a priest has to read every day as a method of meditation and thought. So in the days leading up to Christmas, the breviary is preparing the priest for the birth of the Savior of the world. And it's quite beautiful. And in the last couple of days of Advent, and in the first couple of days leading up to Christmas, they become even more beautiful. And we'll read some of them and maybe play one or two of the ancient hymns that go along with them, which even predated Gregorian chant. And I think I think you'll feel closer to God if that's the case. I think you should take advantage of this season of Jesus's birth to have him born again in your heart. It's going to give you great, great strength. In fact, it's the only thing that'll give you strength. So with that, we come to the end of our show for this evening. It really went by very, very quickly. So it is the fastest minute on internet, as Ted.
The fastest hour, but it really feels like a minute. But it feels like a minute. We just
fastest
started,
hour
it's
on the
over.
internet, in the words of the inimitable Ted, who keeps this show going with great enthusiasm. And tomorrow night we'll be back, and
There's a chance that the show's on the road, but we're not sure. Correct? There's a chance that we broadcast live.
Oh yes,
tomorrow?
there's a chance tomorrow night we'll broadcast live, but we'll let you know that during the day.
We'll broadcast live tomorrow night, no matter what. The question is, are we going to be at a special location? So stay tuned. Follow the mayor's social media leading up to tomorrow night. But we will be live either way, 8 p.m. right here where you're watching tonight.
Absolutely, and also send in some tweets and text to Rudy Giuliani, CS.com. Tell me if you'd like me to dress up as Santa Claus and read The Night Before Christmas for you.
We could do. Let us know below.
I did it many times.
Special reading.
I did it for many times for foster children, and I'm more than happy to do it again this year.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't have my old suit. It really was pretty worn down, so I went and got I have a new Santa suit.
Can I just say, Mayor, that Christmas season is such a special time. And at the same time, you're reminded of people that are hurting.
Oh.
You just mentioned foster children. So while it's such a beautiful time, how do you square that with and I think service, what you do for others, because it can be heartbreaking to know.
There should be, and in your own way, there should be a little search of your circumstances and your conscience, and you should look for things where you can specifically be helpful to those who have it worse off than you. Is there anything that ever makes you feel better than when you realize you've helped somebody else? I don't think so. Does it get you out of depression? You're darn right it does. I'll tell you why. It gets you out of thinking about yourself too. Well, thank you very, very much. God bless America. When you wake up tomorrow morning, there's a special prayer I'd like you to think about, and say it if you feel comfortable. Just say, thank God you allow me to be in America.